so much for coming. We were having some technical difficulties there, so I apologize. The initial live stream that I started 10 minutes before noon, the way I usually do, was not working properly. So I restarted the live stream, but then that changed the link. So I was just posting the link in several places in hopes that people would find it and be able to still attend. I hope that has not messed things up too much for anyone, and I apologize for the confusion with that. But thank you all for being here and welcome. It's great to see you all for today's performance. Today's performance is entitled A Harp Sketchbook. And this is actually my last live stream of the spring series, so quite exciting. As usual, I'll perform for about 30 minutes and I'll say a bit about the pieces as we go along. The program is also below in the description. And the chat is open if you would like to say anything there. And at the end of the performance, I will stay around to answer any questions that you might have. So today, I'll be performing 3 pieces, all by little-known composers. And for me, each of these pieces is really evocative. I see a visual scene as I'm playing, and that's where the name A Harp Sketchbook came from for today's program. So I'm going to start with a piece by Marcel Samuel-Rosseau. He lived from 1882 to 1955, and actually he was born just Marcel Rousseau, no hyphenated last name, but his father's name was Samuel, and eventually, as a young adult, he hyphenated the last name to Samuel Rousseau in honor of his father. And he studied composition at the Paris Conservatory and won their prestigious Prix de Rome there in 1905. He went on to a career as a composer, an organist, and a professor of harmony at the Paris Conservatory. I think the interesting thing about his music is that, well, he was a contemporary of many other French Impressionistic composers, like Debussy and Ravel and Fauré. His music looks back a little bit more. It's a bit more old-fashioned than you might expect from his time period. And the piece I'm going to play today is the only piece he wrote for solo harp. It is the Pastoral Variations on an Old Noel, or an Old Carol. Really a beautiful set of theme and variations. And he dedicated this piece to his friend Marcel Tournier. Tournier, of course, was a very well-known harpist who taught harp at the Paris Conservatory for many years. And I think Tournier probably worked with Samuel Rousseau to make sure that the piece really suited the harp, because it feels very natural as you're playing it, and everything fits into your hands beautifully. So you'll hear a theme followed by quite a few variations. And for me, it sounds very much as if an artist came to a scene and first made their initial rough sketch, and then maybe made a whole series of sketches of the same scene. Perhaps just from different angles, or perhaps coming back on different days and sketching the same scene again with different weather at a different time of day. So the opening theme is quite slow, then the variations, as you would expect, do all sorts of different things, and then it ends again with a slow presentation of the theme. So here is Marcel Samuel-Rousseau's Variations for Harp. Marcel Samuel-Rosseau. If you're just joining us, thank you so much for coming, and I apologize for the technical difficulties today and the changing of the link for the live stream and everything. Not the smoothest technological setup today, but hopefully everything is working well now. So, moving on to our second piece today. This is written by Betty Jackson King. And Betty Jackson King lived from 1828 to 1994. She was an American composer and musician. And I want to thank the harpist Mallory McHenry for introducing me to Betty Jackson King and her music, which is lovely. So King grew up in Chicago, and she studied at many prestigious music schools in her education, including right here in Baltimore at the Peabody Conservatory, my alma mater. And she was really passionate about music. She worked throughout her life as a music educator. She was also quite religious and worked as a church musician. And a lot of her work centered around chorus. She frequently worked as a choral conductor, and she was herself a vocalist. So many of her compositions are for voice or chorus. She also was quite a fine pianist, a very impressive individual. And so the piece that I'm about to play was originally written for piano. She did not compose for the harp specifically. But this work for solo piano is the 4 seasonal sketches. And as the name suggests, there are 4 short pieces to it, one for each season of the year. And I'm just going to be playing autumn today, which is a bit incongruous since, of course, we are in spring. But autumn is my favorite movement of the 4. And also, it was quite straightforward to transcribe for the harp. I think it really suits the harp well. So I'm going to be playing the autumn dance, and as you'll hear, there's a lot of visual elements to this. I think with her naming the piece, the 4 seasonal sketches, it's quite easy to then take it and transfer it to kind of a visual rendering of the piece. So here is the Autumn Dance by Betty Jackson King, my own transcription. So I have one last suite to play today. This is by another American composer, Grace Becker Van Moos. And Van Moos lived from 1898 to 1992. She lived in the San Francisco area most of her life, and she was a cellist and a composer. And actually she had the pleasure of playing in a flute, cello, and harp trio, which I think was probably great training for learning a lot about the harp and how to compose well for it. She wrote several solo pieces for the harp, actually, as well as, I think, at least one chamber piece that included harp. And she had the opportunity to study at the Fontainebleau School in France, to study composition there. And then she wrote this suite, the Fontainebleau Suite. And you'll hear it's 3 short pieces. The first one is Palace Lake, then it's followed by Summer Night, and it ends with Forest. And all 3 of these are quite visual for me. For the first one, Palace Lake, I really think of something quite elegant. Obviously there's the lake in it, and I think the colors are very much kind of maybe a bit of sunshine sort of splashed across the water. And then the second one, Summer Night, sounds to me like it's just after nightfall, so a bit darker than the first one certainly. And musically you'll hear some influence of the blues scale throughout. And then it ends with Forest, which sounds very much maybe like running through the forest. I see a lot of trees, but also sunlight kind of filtering through them at the same time. It's a very light and quick movement. So here is the Fontainebleau Suite by Grace Becker Van Moos. And then after that, I will be over to the computer closer to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you so much. Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of the music today. If you would like to make a contribution, there's info for PayPal and Venmo down below in the description. And of course, any amount is appreciated. So let me come around and see if there are any questions. Hopefully that, oh good, I was hoping that the chat was working properly. Oh, that's lovely page about the Fontainebleau Suite and images that came to mind with that. Really lovely. Excellent. Well, I did want to ask everyone, actually I had a question for everyone, about continuing live streams. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this is my last live stream of the spring series. And then I'm considering, I guess I would say I've kind of tentatively planned to do a live stream this summer, perhaps in July, similar to what I did last summer, where it would be a season's highlights program. So I would pick all my favorite pieces that I have performed for you all over the past season and do one performance of those. But what I'm trying to decide about, what I've really been mulling over, is whether to continue live streaming next fall. So whether I should go ahead and plan another season. I have been performing in person and live quite a bit lately, and I'm definitely looking forward to doing more of that next season. But obviously sometimes different people can attend through a live stream that might not be able to attend in person given geographic restrictions. So if you have any thoughts about whether you would be excited about more live streams next season or not, that would be great to know. So just, you could say something in the chat, or you could send me a quick email or a Facebook message or something. That would be very much appreciated. But yes, thank you to everyone who managed to come despite the technical difficulties. I really appreciate that. It doesn't look like there are too many questions today, so hopefully you all enjoyed the music very much. I particularly enjoyed playing some of these little-known composers. I really like finding new composers who have beautiful music that maybe hasn't been played much. Becker is one I discovered several years back, kind of a bit on a whim. One of the harp companies gave me a free piece of music that happened to be by her, and I had never heard of her, but I sat down to play it and really liked it, and so I've done quite a bit of research into her to find out more and learn some of her music, and I've really enjoyed that very much. Oh, it looks like we have a question. So we've got a question from Indra about transcribing music from the piano to the harp. So deciding whether or not something will suit the harp is kind of a tricky thing. I think usually the best way to figure it out is to just sort of play through and see what it sounds like. So a lot of times I go ahead and do a playthrough even if it's quite sloppy and get a general sense of it. But I'm looking at a few different things frequently. One, I want to see how it works with the different registers of the harp, because a lot of times piano music might make use of the registers very differently than the harp. Of course, the harp has a lot more resonance. So if it's something that, say, on the piano has a lot of really clear stuff down low, you know, perhaps a quick moving bass melody or something, generally that's not going to transcribe well to the harp because that's a very muddy supporting register on the harp. So I check for things like that. And then I also think about whether some of the things sort of transfer well to harp elements. You know, we love to play chords and arpeggios, and a lot of things that kind of open up the harp rather than, I guess, things that can be maybe extremely contrapuntal or something might be better suited to the piano. So I'm looking both at how the sound will work and how the different elements will work, and then when in doubt, I just try it out and see if it works. And the more that I transcribe, the easier I find that whole process. So good luck to you with that. Let's see, we have a couple more comments. Paige says that an all-female composer program would be great. Yes, I have thought of that. Yes, there are some really lovely female composers for the harp, and I enjoy it. You know, obviously we had 2 today, and I could put quite a few together into one program. That would be a lot of fun. Oh, great. And then we have a comment from the UK. Oh, thank you so much. That's great that you would enjoy more live streams. Thanks for coming. Yes, really good. Oh, Paige is commenting on Jacqueline's Solace, which is a beautiful piece. Jacqueline has some really lovely music. Yes, I think Solace might be one that could work, but it would take, you know, there'd be some awkward moments to overcome. That's another thing in transcribing. Some things sit really nicely on the harp and you don't have to make many adjustments. And sometimes you have to do a bit of work, even just in your practicing, to have things come out smoothly. So you can sometimes feel a difference between something that's written expressly for the harp and music that is not. But frequently, it can still sound lovely, even if you feel that there's a few little awkward moments in your playing. All right, really good. Well, thank you all again so much for coming. If you have more thoughts about more live streams or no more live streams, please let me know, as I mentioned. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of the day. And I'll look forward to seeing you all this summer for a season's highlights program. And of course, I'll send out information about that and put it on my website and everything. Thank you, everyone.